and obviously we're here to support you as colleagues to help you to find out a little bit more about our processes, etc. So just introduce myself. My name is Anne Whitaker, and I'm part of the partnership team. I'm joined by my colleague Kira Jenner, who's also part of the partnership team, who I know will say hello to you. Kira, if you want to say a quick hello.
Yeah, hi everybody, afternoon.
Right, and Kath Minute-Waller, who some of you might know if you've got any BA Year 1 associate teachers in school. So Kath, do you want to say a quick hello?
Yeah, hello everyone, good afternoon.
Right, so this is the agenda for tonight. We're going to be looking just a few updates for you. We're then going to be kind of another update about our BCU IT curriculum and assessment tracker. Then we're going to be looking at, and the main part of this afternoon's meeting is going to be looking at our completing a lesson observation feedback form. So if you're new and you haven't been working with us during the autumn term, absolutely brilliant, warm welcome to you all. If you've already got PGs or you have had BA Year 3s in school, that's fantastic. And if you've currently got our BA Year 1s and you've got our BA Year 2s, then obviously you're really a warm welcome to you as well. So maybe while we can get going on through the next couple of slides, would you like to just pop in the chat bar who you are with your email address in case we need to get in touch with you after the session, and just an indication if you've got ATs, if you've got BA or you've got PGCE associate teachers, that'd be really helpful as well. Thank you. So as I said, if you could just put in the chat bar your name and any associate teachers that you've got, and really anything that maybe since you've been working with us or working with our associate teachers or working with colleagues, any mentoring sort of tip or perhaps a recent success that you'd like to share. And maybe because there is quite a small number of us, would anybody be brave enough to kind of put their camera on and say, yeah, we've had this has happened and we've had a success story. That would be even better. Unfortunately, Sam, you've got your camera on and I can see you. He's going, ooh. I've got his colleagues to say, yeah, go Sam. So as lead mentor at Thornton, would you like to share anything perhaps that we could, get our appetites wet, whet our appetites with some mentoring guru tips?
I won't go
there you go.
guru.
Put you on the spot.
I think I'm. Yeah, I'll do my best. I hope I'm not going to disappoint now.
No, absolutely not.
I suppose two things really. What I'll go for one kind of positive thing that we've had this through this first placement, and also a tip. So the positive thing is we took a AT in who kind of a week into the placement, and naturally that isn't obviously the ideal time to come in, but I've got to say, don't let no school should be put off by that, because we found that the associate teacher and ourselves have managed to kind of catch up and fill that time in. So all I'm saying is, if you're ever put in the position as a school where you're offered an associate teacher a little bit out in a time frame that's a bit out of the ordinary, it can work out and it can be a success, because it has been for this associate teacher. So that was a real positive. My personal tip, having done this for a few years, is when I observe an associate teacher, I observe for about half an hour. I then kind of break out and go and start to fill the lesson observation form in, make a few notes when I'm there. That gives me kind of 20-25 minutes where I can actually record a bulk of the thoughts, and then I've got 5 minutes at the end of the lesson to get some more thoughts, get some impact, and then give some feedback. And what I do find is, by kind of trying to get the two together, the recording and the observing, it just makes it a lot easier to manage time. Particularly, I mean, like, I'm sure everybody in here has there's many parts to your job, so managing the time can be quite tricky, especially if you've got more than one AT to observe. So there's a tip.
Well, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happened there. I think we'd all agree that that really is a really helpful piece of advice. And thank you for that. I'm not sure what's happened to my presentation. I think somebody's been trying to request control, so let me get back onto that again. Great, Sam. I think that's really useful. Certainly having that experience, and hopefully we'll look a little bit later about how maybe when you're doing those observations, how maybe our paperwork has helped that, and how you kind of used the paperwork to support those observations as well. I think would be really helpful to kind of get some clarity over that as well. I don't think there's anything else in the chat bar, Kira or Kath, that has come in, which is really helpful or thoughtful to share.
Mostly people introducing themselves, Anne, and
Good.
sharing what ATs they've got at school with them, which is great. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. So whilst I'm just moving on to this, looks as if it's still whirring. I'll just stop sharing again. So really what we want to look at is some updates that are happening in our schools at the moment. I mean, obviously, you know, huge thank you for those of you who've had BA Year 3s and actually who've, you know, had a successful placement with our Year 3s. Thank you very much for those people who've obviously got our PGCE students in at the moment. I know they've got their review meetings, end of school-based training 1 progress, a review meeting coming up next week. And obviously we've got our Year 1s who very excitedly start their placement on the 23rd. Some of them, I think I've just been completing sign-offs today with some of my associate teachers, and they're either very excited, they're absolutely scared stiff, or they're not quite sure what they're doing. So, and I think on that not quite sure what they're doing is a little bit about, and we had a mentor working group meeting the other day, and I think mentors were feeding back that some of the Year 1s were kind of not making that connection between some of the university content and the school content, and they need a bit of cajoling because they do know it. They know it's there. Kath's nodding her head because she's the Year 1 lead. You know, they do know it. It's just, I think they get a bit confused about articulating that, and certainly they must share their OneDrive with you, the shared with schools section, which will have all of their documentation in there. So when they start talking about their school subject specific development journal, it's in there for them to support as well. So I think it's just really important that we kind of, you know, bear with our Year 1s. I think they're going to be, you know, they're going to show potential as long as they're getting that overview of the school, they're getting the experience, they're talking to mentors, they're talking to you, and they may need some direction. Some of them may think they're going to be teaching the world when they start. I don't know whether Kath, that doesn't happen. No, she's shaking her head. And others just may need, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, no, they're not planning and teaching for this block. It's an immersion into kind of the school environment and class environment, but they have got tasks to complete. Sorry, I'm being pestered by my dogs here.
Yeah. No, I was being facetious there, Kath, because I know they're not supposed to be teaching, but actually some of them are saying, you know, that they get quite enthusiastic and they want to work with a group or whatever. So our Year 2s are currently, they're starting their preparation days as well, and I know that they're looking forward to working in schools and working with you as well. So whoever you have in school, whether you've got PGs or you've got, you know, you're just completing your school-based training 1, or you're welcoming our BA Year 1s and Year 2s into your setting, you know, a huge thank you, because we do know how much we value your support and your commitment to that. So as I said before, I mean, I hope that all of you will be aware of the Primary Partnership website. It is our go-to, our sort of virtual handbook, mentor handbook, if you like, for all of the documentation that we have regarding the partnership, and also working with you as mentors and lead mentors. So if you haven't had a chance to look at that, I mean, just if you click on the link on the presentation, I hope it's not too teeny, you can actually have a look at that, and it will show you, give you some further information. I hope that's a little bit bigger. If you just click on that, it will show all of our documentation and you'll be able to navigate that further. I just thinking, bearing in we've got time, maybe if we go into the breakout rooms, I will show you that in a little bit more depth and detail if that's helpful to you, but just conscious of time at the moment. Just very quickly, if any of you, particularly if you're a lead mentor and you're an experienced mentor and you want to continue your CPD, we have got a module which is fully funded for you. You can apply to take part in, and we've extended the date to that starting date to be February. So if you would like to take part, and would like to develop your skills further, because our CPD this year is very much going to be focusing on our curriculum and supporting you with our documentation. And we're deliberately doing that because obviously we know that we had an Ofsted inspection last year, and they're very much looking at our schools, having that awareness and understanding our curriculum. So we are very much looking at supporting you to understand our curriculum and be able to to have those high-level conversations with associate teachers about their university-based sessions and how that impacts and applies to their school-based training as well. So please get in touch with Jennifer Swain-Boateng if you would like to take part. All of the slides that are being presented tonight are already up on our Primary Partnership website, together with the tasks that we're going to be completing as well. Just a very quick, for those of you who maybe have joined us and haven't completed any mentor induction, the mentor induction is available on the Primary Partnership website for you to have a look at. I've even identified the content so you have an idea of what is going to be shared in that 55-minute video. But please, when you have time, have a look at that if you haven't already done so. Our CPD, again, we're doing another session in March. And just to support you further, I will send an invite out before, just to remind you. The dates are already and the links are already up on our Primary Partnership website for you to access, so that we do. I think somebody, I did say the other day, it would be helpful to have a reminder. So if that would be helpful, then we will send a reminder prior to the session, so that you know that, or with the link, so you can just access that very easily from your computers and laptops. Calendar, again, the mentor calendar is there to support you with all of the, I know that's a bit small, but if you click on the link, it will take you straight to the mentor calendar, and that identifies if you for our PGs, for our BA Year 1s and our BA Year 2s. And just a quick update about our role as university tutors. Obviously, we will be, as you know, we have a large partnership, and currently those of you who have got BA Year 1 associate teachers, university tutors will be getting in touch with you to just to introduce themselves if they're not already working with you in that particular school, and just to kind of remind you now as to the expectations of the BA Year 1 placement. And obviously when our BA Year 2 university tutors are working, are shared, they'll be getting in touch with you as well. I think the main thing is communication, and if you've got an issue with an associate teacher in school, or there are any questions or queries you have, then please, from an associate teacher level, your university tutor is the first person that you need to contact and get in touch with. And if there are any difficulties or challenges in doing that, then please get in touch with myself or Kira, or any of the hub leads that are working with regional schools to support lead mentors in developing our curriculum, etc. But if there are any issues, then please get in touch with them too, and they can be found on our Primary Partnership website. We really want to, I think the focus for our university tutors is to support you to understand our curriculum and to be confident, to be able to understand where, at which point all of our associate teachers, which part of the curriculum they have been taught, and the expectations for what they know or they should know at this point in their training. For those of you who have got the BA Year 1s and BA Year 2s, you can revert back to information that's already up on the partnership website regarding the any mentor support materials that will help you to work with your associate teacher in school. The recording for the BA Year 2 will also be will be put up shortly, but the presentations are up there, so you've already got access to key information regarding those placements. As I said, the curriculum, the BCU IT curriculum, again, we are looking very much at your understanding that for phase 1, that our BA Year 1 teachers will be taught for the whole of this year. Obviously, our PGCE associate teachers have already had phase 1 part of their curriculum that's already been taught, and they're now starting their phase 2. So when you look at the curriculum, you click on the curriculum links here, you can see the content is there for you to kind of have that breadth or that understanding of what's been taught in each of the subjects. Again, as I said, we've split this up into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. So if you've had BA Year 3s, you would have been looking at the whole curriculum in the BA QTS curriculum. But if you're working with PGs, you're going to be focusing on that phase 1 and that beginning of that phase 2. Because as you know, our associate teachers come back into university 1 day a week to develop their professional studies and understanding curriculum. Just a quick reminder, we have our curriculum themes, which is very much involved in our assessment tracker. So this is what we are measuring and we are assessing our associate teachers against. It completely embeds the core content framework. And as you become familiar with working with us, I hope that you'll be becoming more familiar with the themes and how they work, particularly when you start that assessment process using our tracker. And apologies, this is very small, but if you click on the link here, it will take you straight to the tracker. And I think the big thing this year, this is an example of somebody who's completed as a PGCE, that first, they're coming towards the end of their first review, where they sit in regards to their development. So it's about having those high level discussions with your associate teacher to make sure that they are sort of fulfilling the criteria that is shared in the tracker. And this is particularly looking at subject knowledge. Our BA Year 1s, our PGs and Year 2s all have a subject specific development journal, which we really hope that you're having those discussions if you've got PGs during your weekly meetings, and they're sharing that documentation and they're filling that in to be able to engage with their understanding and development of each the subject that they're going to be talking or they're teaching. So that was a really quick whistle-stop tour of kind of the current updates. Has anybody got any questions or any questions in the chat bar that perhaps people would need any clarification? That would be really helpful before we go on to ask. Now, everybody fairly happy? Hopefully. Great, Sam. I mean, I'm sorry, I go to Sam's my go-to at the moment, Kira, because I don't know the two people I can see on the screen. So what we'd like to do, I don't know whether Kira, you'd like to kind of share, or do you want me to talk about what we're going to be doing next? Just so I'm sorting out the break. Only because I'm trying to sort out the breakout rooms.
You sort out the breakout rooms and I'll explain. So
Yep,
afternoon,
great,
everybody. For those of you who weren't here when I first joined, I'm sat in a events space lobby at the moment, so there's some nice background music, so hopefully it's not too disturbing for you. So what we want to do is we want to get into some breakout rooms now, and we're going to look at some lesson observation feedback paperwork, and this is something that we've gathered from all of our observations that took place last year. So it's a combination of mentor, it's a combination of tutor paperwork as well. So in the breakout room, we wanted to get together as a professional working group and talk through some of the pros, the cons of that paperwork. And we'll do it section by section, with the intention that at the end of it, we'll at least have got somewhere to talk about sort of good practice in terms of using our BCU paperwork with associate teachers to feedback on lessons. So Anne, I don't know if you've done, we've got about 16 people, so either 2 groups of 8 or 3 groups of about 5 or 6.
I have done 3 groups, Kira, because I just think it might be easier to kind of, you know, to talk together. So
what I didn't mention is where to find the paperwork, though. So it's much easier if everybody accesses it on your own device. I put a link there that will take you direct to the partnership website page, where there's a PDF document with that lesson observation paperwork. So instead of us screen sharing, we just found it's much easier if you can filter through yourself. So if you click on that link or go straight to the partnership website under our CPD, you'll find that from today's session.
Right, thanks, Kira. Yes, I I mean, whilst we're getting people into groups, it does take a little bit of time, and now we have actually got a proper, I think it's about 4:05. So we were thinking about giving people about, about 20 minutes to have a look at that paperwork and really have that discussion together. And feel free to comment. I mean, Kira, Kath and I will join a particular group I will be a little bit delayed because I'll just be making sure, because I'm always left in the room to make sure everybody's been allocated. And then we'll have that discussion to go through and really want to get your thoughts about how, if you're using the paperwork, is it working for you? If you haven't used the paperwork, to give you some advice and guidance about how to do that and how to use our subject specific prompts, which are also on our primary partnership website, but we'll show those with you when we go into our groups. So if everybody's happy, we'll go off and we'll head back. So just let's agree. I'm going to put a timer on myself this time, Kira, so that we'll know when to come back. So if we come back at, shall we say about 25 minutes, that gives people hopefully enough time. And I'll just stay here for a little moment in case there are a few people that are dipping in and out. But please go into your groups and have a look at that paperwork, and then we'll come back together, and then we'll kind of get some feedback, because your feedback is really important too about how we can kind of develop our paperwork further. Okay, so I'm just going to automatically, I'm going to create the rooms, and then you should be able to go off. So as I said, whilst we're kind of doing that, if you would like to, the 6 people been allocated to each room, I'm going to open them now, and then we will see you again at about 25 past 4.
Got any yard choose, but I'll listen anyway. Okay.
So they'll just be moving now. You should all disappear. Pray it works.
Do you think there's anything there that
Will do.
sort
Thank
of
you.
helpful feedback? Thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody again. Sorry, I know it was a bit abrupt. I should have given you a warning, everybody, but I did say time, so hopefully you kind of worked towards that. But
No, it was good.
did you
thanks,
manage? Oh, great. Did you manage to all have a conversation and a chat? Oh, great stuff. That's fantastic. Just if I stop sharing, because I don't think we need to have a look necessarily at the slides, do we? So what we did in our group, we kind of looked at obviously the lesson observations. It'd be really interesting to hear what people, any feedback that we've got from the other groups. So I'm just going to stop sharing, then it's a bit easier. You can see everybody a bit better and it's a bit easier. So any thoughts, any comments that, you know, might be really helpful to think about? I know we certainly looked at some really good ideas in our group, and I think Lucy I'd nominated to kind of share, but Kira, Kath, anybody from your group like to share, or would you like to share?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind if anybody, any in my group, we've actually discussed quite a lot, and I've been scribbling some notes down. So I'll just go through sort of like key points, but obviously we can always catch up again. I think we found that some of the sort of targets and things like that were certainly a little bit ambiguous, possibly not specific or objective enough, or too broad. And actually there was one, can we put perhaps some success criteria into that as well? We've got some background noise. Could everyone just turn their mic?
I'm probably able to mute everybody.
Will you mute me
Mute.
as well?
No, I'm not going to mute you. I'm going to mute anybody who's got their mute on. I think it's just yeah. I think you're good to go.
So so there was talk about around those, and perhaps how do we then communicate that target? So would we put success criteria? And I guess it's sort of a suggestion of strategies for how to get there, isn't it? But we did certainly agree that they should be very much focused and achievable, considering the time we're asking sort of associate teachers to respond to what we're asking them to do. I think we talked about again those lesson observation prompts. Felt that there was some inconsistency in the support that they provided. So perhaps that's something that we could look at. Felt the science was very strong. The maths and English, possibly, no, the maths very strong and very much linked to the NCMT, is it? MCM, the maths national, you know what I mean, hubs.
NCETM.
NCETM, that's it. And also, but felt that the English was probably not as useful. It found that it's a big the range is huge, obviously, but felt that there could be some further sort of detail brought into that to support the observation, the person observing as well. And then non-core, that balance between sort of substantive and disciplinary knowledge or whatever, and felt that there was some inconsistencies there, I think. Positives, lesson observation performer, much tighter, really improved. So there's greater focus when carrying out the observation and knowing, you know, the specifics of feedback. And then we talked about, there were two things really. One about the early years foundation stage prompts, and I know we discussed that last week, and I know Caitlin, I think, has now said they're definitely on the website.
Yeah, they are.
So I've said, and I think that went in our chat link as well. So I know Mandy was going to go and have a look at those as well, and I know Mandy was working on those. She mentioned, so it's kind of, there is that need to develop those prompts for the early years foundation stage curriculum, but also possibly developing something along the SEND route, because we are working in special educational needs schools as well, and felt that there wasn't that provision there to support that. And that's to support schools and our mentors, but also then being able to provide that feedback that is sort of quality feedback for the associate teachers. So yeah, there was quite a lot there, but very, very useful conversations and feedback.
Well, I think this is excellent, because obviously, you know, each of us, and I know that Kira, your group, and I know Lucy, if she's still there, I haven't frightened Lucy off, have I? Because she's probably thinking, I can't follow that. Yes, you can.
I'm still here.
You're still there. I think it's really useful because I've written down, you know, obviously we've got these notes and context, which is really important, because actually we did talk about, Lucy, didn't we? Maybe good to kind of bring you in here about that SEND element, because actually that was something that was brought up in our group, particularly about the specificity of supporting you know, our ATs who are in those special settings as well. So who'd like to go next? So I've just gone back to Kath. So I don't know, Kira or Lucy would like to share. Kira or you, Lucy?
More
She
than
gone.
happy to.
You're
I
there.
don't
You're
mind
there,
at all.
Kira. You're
Yeah,
fine.
I'm
Great.
here.
Thank
I'm
you.
here. Yeah, so we had to thank you to my group for your input and the conversation. We talked about the paperwork briefly to start with, and the new paperwork. Generally positive about the paperwork, talking about how it's taking some getting used to, because now it's split up into the themes, but fairly confident that once we do all get used to that, it'll become quicker and more supportive for everybody. And I think everybody in our group had used the subject specific prompts as well, so we talked about those. And interesting what you said, Kath, because I was talking to the group about how we're going to be looking at those and refining them even more and developing them. So I think that's certainly something for us as a university tutor team. We know is working well, but actually we could improve further. And then we had a look at the first 3 examples. So we looked at previous targets, subject specific prompts, and planning and assessment. I think generally what we kept coming back to was that specificity, making sure that any targets, any comments are really specific to that individual lesson and specific to the individual associate teacher. And we talked about, you know, how some of them have just copied and pasted from the themes, which is good that they're being used, but actually they need to be more refined and, you know, linked to what that individual is doing and needs to do. So yeah, a lot of it, I'm looking at my notes here, and a lot of it says about specific being as specific as possible. You know, okay, it's fine to say it's good, but why is it good? What are we seeing for that associate teacher to really understand what they're doing well? And then, of course, we talked about some of the examples that were good. Can't remember who it was, sorry, but somebody said the use of including any misconceptions was really beneficial, both misconceptions that they've seen with the pupils, but misconceptions that our associate teachers might have, and pointing those out, identify them. I think that's it generally. Is it Lucy? I'll give you some time to share your feedback as well, but a lot of it echoed what you were saying as well, Kath. So yes, I've got some notes, Anne, so I'll send them through to you as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks,
Lucy,
everyone.
are you okay to share? Because you had a good idea as well, and you kind of picked up on some of the elements that had already been covered as well.
Yeah, I think the Lucy knew more about the SEN, but so I won't.
Oh yeah, no, Lucy.
I'll talk
Lucy, we'll have the double Lucys can talk about it, which is absolutely fine. Yeah, thank you.
I'll leave that for her. But I just said we were more talking about the observation form. So I said I found that the splitting it up actually helped me to make sure I'd covered every element of the lesson. So I've looked at assessment, I've looked at her planning, I've looked at her classroom management, behaviour management. It does help chunking it up to make sure I've covered everything. I did say maybe a box at the bottom just for anything else that you can't quite fit in, just a more general, actually, I've got a couple of other things to say, I'll pop it down in that box for you, would be maybe quite useful. And yeah, we also said we thought the subject specific target setting was good. The only challenge we faced, I know one of the other ladies said this, but I was nodding because I agreed, was if they're not teaching that again for a while. So for example, I watched my student, my associate teachers teach phonics this week. And I could give her some phonics feedback, but she probably won't teach that now until perhaps her next placement. So it's just about, actually, you want it to be subject specific, but I also want to give her something she can work on next week when she's teaching maths. So it's just finding that balance, I guess. That was what we said anyway.
Yeah, great. And I think anybody mentioned, Lucy, does the other Lucy want to talk about, because we did talk about the SEND element of the lesson feedback form. Do you want to say anything about that, Lucy?
Yeah, it was just simply that when it comes to looking at subject specific, obviously that looks very different in our setting. It might be for our setting, some of the early years stuff may be a little bit more applicable. So I'll delve into that a little bit more. But it was just kind of a lot of the statements just don't apply to our children. So just kind of a broader overview really on what that subject could look like in each of the settings. And then within each of the settings, we have so many diverse needs and abilities. So kind of breaking that down really.
Yeah, perfect. So I think, really, I hope we'd all agree tonight. It's been great to hear that feedback and great to have give you that really the floor to kind of look at that paperwork in a lot of detail, because actually it is essential that we get it right, so we can, it's not the finished product. We're always open to how we can evolve that further. And the other thing I think I mentioned to my group, and I'm sure Kath and Kira also said, we're looking at that exemplar in a subject, so that you're going to also have the opportunity to have a look at, what does a good one look like, to kind of give you some guidance and some support as well. And actually in that, we probably should include something that will help to support somebody who is in a SEND setting as well. Great. I mean, I think that's really positive, and having, your input is absolutely critical, because this is how we can kind of really start moving things forward and starting to kind of work, more collaboratively together. I think it's absolutely great. So thank you so much for that time that you've taken to work out in your groups. The groups worked out okay, I think better probably tonight than they did last week, because it's just great to have so many people here as well. So really, just before we kind of depart and think about, has anybody got anything that you want to share, or perhaps, Kieran and Kath and I'll be here at the end if there's anything that you would like to raise specifically, but anybody got any thoughts, or certainly looking forward to perhaps our next CPD session. Again, they're all going to be recorded. You're going to be able to dip into them. This is a great one to dip into, because there's like a chunk in the middle, which I still don't know how to get rid of, Kira, where there's just nothing. So you can just quickly whiz through. So it's not going to take you long to have a look at it. But I think the conversation at the end is going to be interesting, and certainly to capture that as well. So, obviously, we just, again, thank you for supporting our associate teachers in school. If you have any issues, obviously, get in touch with your the university tutor who's working with you. Obviously, Kira and I in the partnership team, which our information, our details at the end of the PowerPoint presentation that's already up on the partnership website. If you've got any questions, queries, we're more than happy to help. We'll do whatever we can. Kath, I know, is the year 1 lead, and her colleagues in year 2 lead, the year 2 leads, and obviously our great PG CE course team. We really are there to try and help and support all of our associate teachers to be as successful with you in their setting. So thank you all so much for tonight. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found it really helpful. It's been great getting to know you and working in groups, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. So thank you so much for being there this afternoon. Thank you. Thanks all. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Great to see you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Nice to see you all. Bye bye.
Bye,
Thanks for
take
your
care.
contributions. Thank you. Great stuff. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I shall stop before we start talking. Stop recording.
Sarah's still